What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another video today, and in this video we are at Omaha Eppley Airfield for the second airport update for the month of June 2024. Got a large Omaha Eppley Airfield update here with plenty of aircraft to take a look at, including charters and a new Southwest service that will begin later this year. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Starting off at Gate Alpha 1, we have this Delta Airbus A320 coming in from Atlanta as Flight 2495. This arrived in at 11:44 p.m. ahead of a scheduled 11:59 p.m. arrival. All flights in this airport update are from Wednesday, June 12th. Moving over to Gate Alpha 3 for the next three Delta aircraft that we have up next. We have this Delta 717-200, also coming in from Atlanta as Flight 2632. This arrived in at 9:44 a.m. ahead of a scheduled 10:02 a.m. arrival. So we've got less Delta mainline aircraft in this update as we had three in the last one, including two 737-800s. Those two, one of them was a split aircraft, and I know Delta is starting to retrofit the splits on more 738s at a very fast pace. So I'm looking forward to spotting one of those for the first time, hopefully later this year. We continue on to our Delta Connection aircraft, and we have the very lovely Embraer 175 with the enhanced winglets sitting next to the 717. This aircraft arrived in from New York LaGuardia as Flight 3816, operated by SkyWest. This arrived in at 10:44 a.m., a bit behind a 10:41 a.m. scheduled arrival, so this aircraft is delayed by just 3 minutes. Very nice, and I love how LaGuardia's reconstruction project is coming along. I just watched a video that showed the update on the reconstruction of it within the month of June. I forget the YouTube channel name, but I'll pop it up on the screen and I'll link it down if you want to see what's going on with the LaGuardia reconstruction project so far. Overall, it's turned out really nice, and hopefully I'll get to fly in and out of LaGuardia in the future. It's definitely within my plan, since Terminal B especially looks so nice, and I'm sure the reconstructed C and D will also go really well with B. But we continue on to our next Delta Connection aircraft, and this one here is a bit of an interesting one. So this is at Gate Alpha 5. This Delta CRJ-900 came in from Minneapolis as Flight 3715. This is also a SkyWest operated flight. This arrived in at 11:58 p.m. ahead of a scheduled 11:59 p.m. arrival. And what was interesting with this is that evidently this aircraft diverted to Minneapolis. So this was supposed to come in from Detroit, actually, but it ended up going to Minneapolis because of severe weather in the Omaha area. Usually the cause for diversions during this time of the year in the upper Midwest, you'll always see them taking place, and it just completely screws up the schedule for not just one flight, but for many different flights. It's always something that happens here in the upper Midwest, and we've just gotten used to it over the years. Next up, we have three American Airlines aircraft, two mainline and one regional. We'll go ahead and start off with the 737-800 sitting at Gate Alpha 6, the gate closest here in the foreground. This aircraft arrived in from Charlotte as Flight 2595. This arrived in at 1:38 p.m., delayed from a 1:30 p.m. scheduled arrival. And then just above that, we have the A320 with IAE engines, the second release from Gemini jets, that at Alpha 7. This aircraft arrived in from DFW as Flight 1811 at 8:49 a.m. ahead of a scheduled 9:01 a.m. arrival. I notice it's a 601 Alpha Whiskey that I'm representing here, which I believe is the first A320 that America West got. So this is a very old airplane. And then we have our regional aircraft, this wonderful little CRJ-700 at Alpha 8 today. This aircraft arrived in from Chicago O'Hare as Flight 4971. This is operated by SkyWest at 9:36 a.m. ahead of a scheduled 10:12 a.m. arrival. Our last aircraft at the Concourse A here, we have Alaska for the first time in the airport updates for Omaha. So they take up the same gate as Frontier, so you won't really see them in the same airport update unless I put them taxiing. Of course, it's kind of lacking a 739 in the regular livery. I have the One World one, and then a Max 9 in the regular livery, which I have an Orca livery of. So need to pick up a couple of those, hopefully in Kansas City, which is coming up very soon. The big international show, as we like to call it around here, making some kind of a reference. But at Gate Alpha 9, we had this Alaska 737-900 without winglets, which I'm very surprised these are still hanging around, but that's just how they roll. This arrived in from Seattle as Flight 341 at 11:48 p.m. ahead of a scheduled 11:59 p.m. arrival. And this is like the third flight that had a scheduled arrival time of 11:59 p.m., which is very interesting. That's all the aircraft we have here at Concourse A. We'll go and check out Concourse B, where we've got plenty of United aircraft and a couple Southwest aircraft, and we'll talk about one new service that Southwest is going to have later this year when we get to them. First up at Gate Bravo 12, we had this United 737-800 in the Continental Globe livery. This aircraft arrived in from Denver as Flight 2454, significantly delayed, arriving in at 10:21 p.m., delayed from an 8:33 p.m. scheduled arrival. So we're looking at about an hour and 48 minutes of delay. Hopefully my mental math worked this time, since sometimes it doesn't really work out and I just kind of have to make a guess or whatever. But I think, yeah, I think it worked out here because I do see, yeah, it's about like 12 minutes behind 2 full hours. Yeah, I've been probably an hour 48. But either way, got quite the delay here, and I imagine that the storms related to the CRJ 900 diversion that we took a look at earlier probably caused this delay to occur. I'll swing on up to Bravo 13, where we have another 738, this one in the much newer Evo Blue livery, coming in from Chicago O'Hare, arriving in as Flight 1398. This arrived in at 10:02 a.m., had to be scheduled at 10:22 a.m. arrival. Next up at Gate Bravo 14, we had this United Express Embraer 175. This also came in from Chicago O'Hare as Flight 5267, operated by SkyWest, at 5:37 p.m., had to be scheduled 5:42 p.m. arrival. And then we have another United 737 MAX 9. This one is in the older Continental Globe wavy livery, the same livery that they have on their 787s that still have yet to be repainted. I know the 788s, they still have yet to be repainted, but there's a good mix of 789s and 787s that do have the Evo livery on them now. This aircraft arrived in from Houston George Bush Intercontinental as Flight 2092 at 10:25 p.m., delayed from a 10:22 p.m. scheduled arrival, so this aircraft is delayed by just 3 minutes. Hoping to get to use the Evo MAX 9, which I got about a few weeks ago now. I'm very excited to use that in the future, hopefully whenever an Evo Blue MAX 9 is applicable for an airport update. I saw Sioux Falls got one recently, so I'll try to put that in the next airport update happening later this month. And now we move over to Southwest, where we've got quite a few interesting things going on for them. One of the big things happening is that they will introduce a new service to Omaha to Austin, Texas, beginning on November 23rd. This service will be seasonal and will run on Saturdays only through at least January, from what I was able to ascertain. So they will use, I saw the 73H type, so they will use the 737-800 on this service, which will be very nice. So looking forward to that. And hopefully that turns out well enough that they will bring it back on a more frequent basis, maybe operated like twice or 3 times weekly, and perhaps make it year-round. But we'll see what happens with this Austin service. They'll begin in about 5 months or so. So that's just one of the many exciting things happening here at Omaha Eppley Airfield in this update. So go ahead and take a look at our first Southwest aircraft happening here at Gate Bravo 16. This 737-700 came in from Houston Hobby as Flight 2877 at 5:04 p.m., had to be scheduled 5:05 p.m. arrival. And 487 Whiskey November, that does ring a bell to me, but I think 478 is the one that I'm thinking of, because Gemini released that in the Canyon Blue livery back in 2014, which was their last Canyon Blue release until the MAX 8 Canyon Blue Retro that we got last year. So very happy to have both of those models. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with my Canyon Blue 700 once those are all gone, because there are 2 that are left right now in Southwest Fleet. Moving along, we have another 737. This is the 800, the type that they will use on this new Austin service coming here in a few months. This arrived in from Chicago Midway as Flight 1358. This arrived in at 11:30 p.m., delayed from an 11:10 p.m. scheduled arrival, so we're looking at a delay of 20 minutes. Our last aircraft at the terminal, we have the Southwest 737 MAX 8 at Gate Bravo 20. This came in from St. Louis as Flight 416 at 10:59 p.m., had to be scheduled 11 p.m. arrival. And that's all the aircraft we have here at the terminal. There are several additional aircraft that we will take a look at, including one taxiing, and there are several parked at a nearby hard stand, so we'll take a look at that after we take a look at some construction progress at Omaha Eppley Airfield. Special thanks goes to Citrus Aviation for providing me with a good handful of pictures for me to assess, so I'll go ahead and pop up the full slideshow as to what he provided me about a few weeks ago now. So these photos aren't exactly up to date now, but this is about the best that I can do, so I certainly can't complain too much. So one of the first things that I see in the photos that Citrus provided me with is that they are constructing a new canopy on the terminal road right now. Looks like they got most of the steel frame in. That's looking really nice, so very happy to see that progress. There's also a picture of a ramp that you can see as well. A couple pictures actually, which just show that is the A concourse with gate 10 there in the frame. There's one with a very long jet bridge, which is very interesting. And then just kind of going along here, you can see some more pictures. There's some construction there in a couple of these pictures. There's more pictures of the steel canopy there, and additional ramp construction also provided as well. They have one of the gates cordoned off, I believe. I think that is... Right now they have B11 corded off right now. So that's why you didn't see that gate in use earlier in this update. So that gate has yet to be used, and I imagine it won't be used again until the construction is complete. There's another picture of the canopy, and another one right there. And you can see, this is a really good picture right here. I like this picture, which really gives you the full view of the canopy, and you can see all the terminal roads been torn up, and they're down to just, I believe that's 1 or 2 lanes. I think 1 lane to drop off and pick up passengers, and the other is like a through lane that you can drive on. So they have quite the consolidation there with the traffic. There's another good picture that shows most of the ramp torn up as they continue to construct the new terminal. So right now, I think they're laying just like the foundation and some of the steel work and all that. There's another good picture right there. I like this one as well. Then there's that really long jet bridge, which looks really interesting. And they do have one of the gates cordoned off inside the terminal, I believe. And there's another picture right there, which shows more of the construction on the airside part of the area. And that's really all the good photos that I have from Citrus. So again, thank you to him for providing some pictures so I can talk about the construction a little bit better. If anybody in the Omaha area wants to help out, feel free to let me know, and I'll appreciate any photos that you can get of the construction going on at Omaha Eppley Airfield for the next little while. This is going to be a multi-year effort, so definitely don't have to commit to it for the entire time, but definitely, at least for maybe, short term, like 6 months to a year, it'd definitely be nice to have someone to help out with providing some photos for the construction. That's all I have for the construction update on the Omaha Eppley Airfield's new terminal project. Very excited to see how far that goes, and I can't wait to cover that as we move into the future. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and check out some other aircraft roaming around the airport. Been a little while since I have featured this aircraft, this Kalitta Charter 737-400. I believe the last time I had this in an airport update was that very special 50th airport update for Random Model Airports at Minneapolis. This aircraft arrived in from St. Louis is flight 524 at 10:17 a.m. delay from a 10:14 a.m. scheduled arrival, and this is wearing a bit of a different livery. It's one of those that has a DHL tail on it, so it's yellow on the back. This isn't the full flavor Kalitta Charters 2 livery that I'm representing here. 734 Charlie Kilo is the one that I'm representing. This one is 405 Charlie Kilo, the one that Gemini did back last year. So very fortunate to have that, and the 727, which unfortunately they retired recently, so unfortunately you can't see those anymore. So I think we're down to just, I think it's IFL Group that has one that's left. I think that's the only operating 727. Maybe USA Jet, I think they still have theirs and they're still using it, but I could be wrong on that. I haven't seen that on Flight Radar in a very long time now. And now we move into my favorite part of this Omaha Eppley Airfield Airport update. We've got a total of 7 charters to take a look at from the Men's College World Series. A total of 8 teams are competing in it this year, and as I record this on Friday, June 14th, the whole event is about to begin. We have 8 teams that are competing in the Men's College World Series in Omaha, which is going to be very exciting. And admittedly, I don't watch a whole lot of baseball, but I have been starting to get into it within the last few years as I've watched the most recent World Series where the Texas Rangers won, their first in franchise history, which is really awesome. Let's go ahead and take a look at all the charters that we have. So we're going to start off with our Allegiant aircraft, and then we'll move into our Sun Country aircraft. Our first A319 that we'll take a look at towards the top of your screen, that came in from Tallahassee, Florida as flight 4251 at 3:31 p.m. ahead of a scheduled 3:45 p.m. arrival. This aircraft was transporting the number 8-seated Florida State Seminoles. The next A319 that we have from Allegiant, this came in from Raleigh-Durham as flight 4501 at 3 p.m. delayed from a 2:37 p.m. arrival. Now, I believe this could have transported either one of 2 teams. We have either the 10-seated NC State Wolfpack or the 4th-seated North Carolina Tar Heels. Now, North Carolina, they're located in Chapel Hill, which is a little closer to Raleigh. So it's possible that they may have both been transported on the same plane, or maybe they took a different plane. I wasn't able to find 2 flights from Raleigh-Durham, so I believe more than likely it could go either way, but I just put both of them in this case just to keep it simple. I may be wrong on it, and if I am, feel free to correct me on that. I need to find like an actual source that does provide information as to who's flying on what for the sports charters and all that, but that's what we're going to work with in this update. Then we have our first A320. This came in from Knoxville as flight 4850 at 3:42 p.m. delayed from the 3:06 p.m. scheduled arrival. Now, this aircraft more than likely was transporting the top-seeded Tennessee Volunteers, or the Vols, as some locals like to call them. And then we have another A320. I'll go ahead and skip over to that on the left of your screen. So that's why you see that over there, because I've got an extra Sun Country aircraft below that. That aircraft, the second A320, came in from Gainesville, Georgia as flight 4025 at arriving right on time at 3:23 p.m. Now, I imagine this aircraft was probably transporting either Florida or perhaps maybe Kentucky. Or no, it wouldn't have been Kentucky. There was a flight for that one. But I put Florida associated with that one. It's also possible maybe one of the North Carolina teams, they may have taken that instead. Could be NC State, but we'll have to see. I'm sure somebody will know better. And then move into our Sun Country aircraft. The one on the right, that one came in from Lexington, Kentucky as Flight 8605 at 6:10 p.m. ahead of a scheduled 6:16 p.m. arrival. That aircraft was transporting the two-seated Kentucky. And then we have another one, the blue one there, towards the top left of your screen. That one came in from College Station as Flight 8611. That was transporting the Texas Aggies, Texas A&M. They are the third seed in this tournament. And then we have another Tide Pod just above that. That one with splits. Came in from Charlottesville as Flight 8627 at 11:16 a.m. ahead of a scheduled 11:50 a.m. arrival. Now it's transporting Virginia, which is the 12th seed in this case. I'll go ahead and pop up the bracket on your screen as I'm editing this video, so the game may already be in progress by the time I get to editing this video, since I've got quite a few things going on here this weekend. So I'm going to try my best to get this edited as soon as possible so I can have this be out on time, which will be Monday on this video coming out. And that is all the aircraft that we have in this update, and that will conclude our second Omaha Eppley Airfield Airport update. Very excited about the progress that we've made so far, and just really happy with where everything has gone for this series. So really happy to continue doing this as we move into the future. With that being said, that is the end of the video. Thanks for watching, and I will catch you in the next video.